We're now live.
And just so you know,
Just
you're not allowed to take any time off ever again.
Yeah. Apparently, if I don't leave the house, everything just works fine.
That's how hoarders are made.
Yep. I can quit anytime I want.
Did you see that episode with Teddy?
Yep.
It's so good. Looking for the other half of this waffle maker. Okay, so
This stuff kind of loves you. This stuff loves you. This stuff loves me.
Our game club recap would be on the 16th of next month, so I don't think that's really going to interfere with anything.
Cool.
I'm okay to keep it on there if you guys want to.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify to make sure it wasn't going to bump into anything.
Yeah, we're good.
Because it's the 16th, then the 17th is predictions and final episode of the year, isn't it?
Hey, man, probably. I just work
Sweet.
here. Hold on.
They're gonna be filming parts of the new Spawn movie in Cleveland.
Hey, nice.
Wait, new Spawn movie?
Yep.
Well, speaking of movies, I did see fucking Thor. Oh, that's so good.
I don't have that stuff on the calendar, so we'll talk about that tomorrow before the show. I think that's what we had agreed, but I don't have invites sent out, so if it's not on the calendar, it didn't happen. Okay. You guys ready to try this again?
Yep.
See what happens.
Get a doorbell here in 45 minutes, but okay.
Just let us know when you need to take a break.
Yeah, we'll talk about endgame stuff.
Alright. Starting in 3, 2, 1. It's the third-ish week of the month, so it's time to talk about our game club game for this past month, and that is This Is the Police. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as the TVGP crew, as always, is Knobs.
What's up?
And Moonpeer.
Hello.
Alright, we're gonna let's just dive right into this. At the very end, we'll talk about the community-chosen game for next month. Thank you very much to our patrons, patreon.com/E1M1. This game was released on PC August 22nd, 2016, PS4 and Xbox One March 22nd, 2017, and the Switch October 24th of this year. So go play it on Switch. That's probably a hell of a place to play it.
Yeah, that's a good platform for it.
When was the Xbox One release for this?
March 22nd, 2017.
Interesting. Let me just make a note right here.
I just changed my top 10 here.
A little bit.
Really, you guys enjoyed this game that much?
Yeah, I knew this was not a Knobs game. The second I started playing it a while ago, I was like, this is not for Knobs.
It's published by Nordic Games, developed by Weepy Games, platforms PC, OS X, Linux. I'm going to close out Steam here. PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch. Kickstarter success. Asked for 25,000, got 35,000, and then came out. So
yay!
That's a pretty small budget for this game. I'm pretty surprised.
With the voice acting.
Yeah, how much do you think 10G of that was John St. John?
Yeah, I was sort of surprised that was part of their Kickstarter pitch. Was, yo, this game has John St. John. I was sort of, okay, I thought you would have locked that guy down later, but cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. Time travel, Metacritic 63, OpenCritic 66. So,
that feels a little harsh.
Moon and I are on the higher end of that scale, I would say.
Well, I mean, I'd imagine most people that are reviewing games are more my speed than trying to get through this thing as fast as you can did not work out well.
No. Peers for the release date August 2016, same as Abzu. So, No Man's Sky.
Yep.
That's the short and long of that one. Top of the pile, middle of the pack, or overlooked.
Completely overlooked.
I think it's middle of the pack because it got some good coverage. I think from YouTube, Giant Bomb did a fairly successful quick look of it, but that didn't translate to sales or reviews. I don't think.
True. I actually think that's how I found out about this game. Was I watched the Giant Bomb quick look of it, thought, "Oh, this looks interesting."
Yeah.
Put it on my list, and then showed it to my wife, and she was like, "That looks really cool. Let's buy it." And then she's the one who eventually forced me to buy it.
At gunpoint.
Yes.
All right, let's just get into the nitty-gritty here. Let's talk about what we liked, what we didn't like. Knobs, it sounds... How far did you make it in the game? What day did you hit?
I racked out at... I got fired at day 10, I got fired at 12, and I got fired at 16.
That's the furthest you made it?
Yep.
Holy crap. Okay.
Like, how did you manage to annoy the mayor that much?
I refused to fire the black officers.
Yeah, I did that in my first playthrough, and I didn't get fired. They weren't happy with me, but...
No, they weren't happy. I got a couple bad rolls. I'd imagine if the more you play it, you could start seeing the paths to take, but every time I seemed to take a different path, I didn't have any well-qualified officers to send on these, and people were getting killed left and right.
Oh, like civilians were getting killed, or the officers?
Yeah, both. It was mayhem.
Yeah, for a lot of my early ones, I was sending like someone on the left of the list and someone on the right of the list together.
I was trying to pair them up like that, and then I think two of those playthroughs, like I was like, okay, so this is the last mission I'm gonna do for the mob. I'm gonna bust them on the next one. But when I did that last one, was just the one that pushed the needle over. I'm like, oh. I can't keep track of this. Your 80% rule, you bastard.
Yeah, that 80% rule turned into about 20% for me by about day 170.
Honestly, probably the funniest thing was I caught a perp by throwing a sex doll at him.
I've done that one, yeah.
So that was awesome.
There's a lot of really great ones. So I guess
really quick, it is worth mentioning the beginning of this game is very difficult.
Yeah.
Like, it does throw you in the deep end, and it's really punishing at first. You do eventually get the hang of it and get better control of it, but the start of the game is horrendously difficult at first.
Allegedly. I never got the hang of it. And it got to the point where it was, when I got arrested that last time, the people with the feds or federales showed up at my door again, I'm like, you know what? I tried.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. My first playthrough is the one where I made it to 180 days, and I made a lot of mistakes, but I never got arrested. One time I did because all 8 of my officers on one shift got murdered in one outing.
Oh, wow.
And that went downhill pretty quickly. But thankfully I was able to reload and not send them out on that job. And that went fine. But I'm sort of surprised that the game would put that much pressure on you at the beginning where you weren't able to make it. I mean, even today, 20, you made it 10% of the way through the game.
Yeah. That was really frustrating. Yeah. Even when oh my god, what was the one thing? All right, so I had 3 officers quit in one day and 1 detective.
Yikes.
Yep.
And I'm like, I got 3 people. What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
So then I spread them out. So I was like, okay, this is a little domestic 911 call. I'll send one person here. I sent another person over there. I sent the SWAT team out there, and then everyone got killed. I'm like,
and did you hire people right away to replace those peeps?
I tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem you run into is
5 of them showed up. 2 of them showed up drunk, and the other 2 called off.
Yeah,
I one out of the lot.
You got bad odds on that playthrough. That would have been one where you're like, all right, I'm gonna start this whole game back over. That's just a bad run.
Yeah.
If I had felt successful, I may have started it over again, but I didn't feel like this game was giving me any bones.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't. Like, not for the entirety of the game. It does not take it easy on you. It just takes that start is hard to get the stability level up for that beginning of the game when you've just got so much chaos going on.
But what I did like, I really liked the look of the game and the feel of the game. Like, I thought that was really good, but I think it should have ratcheted the pressure up more in the end of the second act instead of feeling like it front loads me.
Don't worry, It does front load it, and it does increase the pressure at the end. So Moon, how far did you make it?
I made it all the way to day 180.
Nice. Did you raise the $500,000 that's necessary?
I raised $700,000.
That is way more than I made.
I think I had 500 by the end of Act 2.
Okay.
And then after that, I started playing poker with my friends. I'm walking away with a good 70k every single time I was playing with them.
Wow.
Because there was one guy who basically I just couldn't, I couldn't talk. I couldn't basically play poker with him in a way, because as soon as you start to race, he just like fold.
See, I never even unlocked that option. There was one more option in, the grid of 6. I unlocked the church. Grid of 6. I unlocked the church, which seems useless.
It is 100%. It is.
Every once in a while,
big sales not making the money.
I would just have them touch the relic, and I was like, okay, that didn't seem to do anything, but cool.
Yeah,
touch the glowing orb.
Yeah.
Yes. And the priest will come down, like the head of the church will come down and perform a eulogy for your staff when they die.
He will, yeah.
And it only cost you $45,000.
So here's my favorite part. It costs...
That's a steep paragraph.
Well, even better. Here, it costs $45,000 for him to come down to do a eulogy. It costs $44,700 for him to do it over the phone.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong business.
Yeah, no kidding.
My favorite part of that...
I'll do somebody's Googlies.
Yeah.
Yes. The one you missed, Boston, for those who don't know, you can go into for those who haven't played the game, stop listening because spoilers ahead.
Yeah, just go
play the game first. The grid of 6, you have the police station, town hall, mafia, church is in the middle, the labor union is the one in the bottom right. The one in the bottom left is the Atticus Corporation, and it's the Atticus Corporation, I believe, who are the ones who invite you to play poker, but it's high stakes, so you have to have a certain amount of money to be able to go and play with them.
Yeah, I got screwed over by City Hall and Internal Affairs investigations so badly, I think I finished with $10,000.
Oh, nice. Wow.
I finished 180 days. Like, by the end, I had... Every shift had 0 detectives and 2 officers, because those were the only slots I had open, because every week, City Hall was like, hey man, you're not catching enough crime. I gotta remove a slot. And it's like, yeah, dude, I know, because you keep removing my slots, man. Like,
yep.
What do you... So, there's a lot in this game that to sort of cover here, and I'm having a hard time trying to figure out... I think there's 3 main acts to the game.
Yes.
It starts with...
First and foremost...
Let's get our footing and the Mafia War.
Yep.
The middle is the dentist.
Yep.
And then the end is who do you kill, who's the mayor.
Yes.
I think this game for me... I liked the Mafia War stuff. I thought that was fine. I really liked the dentist.
Yeah, I was very disappointed with the dentist because one of my... the second act of the game is, for the listeners, it's the serial killer section.
Yep.
A serial killer appears. He gives you a postcard, says, give it to the feds. You'll never find me. Don't give it to the feds. And maybe you might catch me. Did you catch the dentist?
No, I got about halfway through. I solved 3 or 4 of his clues. But halfway through, for seemingly no reason, the feds were like, hey man, have you been investigating the dentist? Like, we told you not to give us all that stuff. And they took all my files. And eventually they were like, hey, it was that lady. And I was like, it was not. That's not the dentist.
It was definitely not that lady. I got someone on a holier-than-thou police officer on my force snitched me out to the mayor, who snitched me out to the feds.
Fired.
Because at the time, I didn't have a snitch. And because I didn't have a snitch, I didn't know this was going on.
Right. It took me way too long to hire a snitch for my forces, and it...
Oh, I hit a snitch by week 2.
Yeah.
I didn't trust any of them.
Yeah, the only thing that frustrates me about the snitch is I didn't mind paying, and I didn't mind I guess two things that I minded was, one, the snitch never really figured out what everyone's religious affiliation was, and
the political affiliation, you mean?
Yeah, political. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
The labor union in the third act.
I never unlocked them.
If you do a job for the labor union, you can for a one-time payment of like $20,000. They will tell you everyone on your force's political perspective, and anyone you hire political perspective.
Yeah, and the other thing is, every 2 weeks the snitch would end up dead.
Yes, I had that a couple of times.
Yeah, that was.
I need to stop picking on the little old lady.
Yeah, they got fired. I thought the Mafia War stuff in Act 1 was pretty interesting, but I never really felt like the stakes were high enough. Like I always picked Sand, and I really never felt like Vega ever had a chance.
Yeah, to be honest, I was the same. Like, I liked his attitude, I liked his approach, but it did feel like it was small business going after big corporations, for lack of a better analogy.
Yeah, because you get presented like, well, here's Christopher Sand. He's been the mafia boss for decades, and he has the city on lock. And here comes Varga, your brash upstart. He clearly has the thugs working for him, but it never really felt, even when you got the option, it never felt like Varga was going to win.
Yeah,
or if he was even a threat.
Yeah. It seemed like he was so unorganized, and he was so like, Sand had everything on lock, and he had the money, and he had the skills and the crew, and you just to me, it was never really a choice.
Yeah, to be honest, I very much felt the same way. It probably took me 3 seconds to make that decision as to whether or not to go with Sands or Varga. Really quick on the gang stuff, how much of the detectives' caseworks did you do? Like the investigations?
I did as many as I could, because all of those were super cool.
Yep, that is probably one of my favorite things, and it's from the very, very beginning of the game all the way up until the end.
Yep.
It's the working your way up the chain of the different gangs so you can eliminate the gangs.
Yep.
I don't know if you got to the point where you had to interrogate people.
I did. I interrogated a couple of people.
Did you ever resort to the hard way, shall we say?
No, I didn't even know that was an option.
Yep.
Take a phone book to some people.
If you mess up the interrogation enough, you have to torture them for information.
That sounds about right for this game.
Yes, it's very, very dark, shall we say, this game.
I really liked the investigations, because I thought they were okay when you start the game, because you have to sort through a lot of conflicting information from your witnesses, which I felt like was pretty fair. And I thought those were going to be pretty cool, but you're right. Once you start, you bust one person and they say, well, actually I work for this gang and here's my boss, and you start going up the chain of command and you bust an entire gang. That was really cool. I didn't think they were going to go that way, and I think that helped out a ton.
I know the Zacuzas killed that first detective I sent their way every time. I was 3 for 3. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yep. There are certain ones that will always kill the detective. There is the first dentist investigation will always do it, for example.
Yep.
I ended up unlocking the chance to investigate the Sands.
I remember, I think I did too.
I shut the Sands down.
Whoa, hey. By the hand that feeds here.
By like day 120, I shut the Sands down. Sands down. It was quite interesting, because for shutting them down, for getting all the way to the top, $200,000.
Man, I could have used that.
Yep. And I don't know if you recall it during the conversations. I think it might be the conversation you have with the Sands Senior in the hunting range, or in the hunting room he has. You end up getting him basically for the guy who ends up sleeping with his daughter, for lack of a better way to phrase it. It's really, really interesting. Like because each individual case, and it's the same for all of the gangs. Each case takes you to the next one.
Right.
So you get the guy who's stealing a car, but he's stealing a car because he's learning underneath an expert car thief who's stealing it because she works for a chop shop.
Right.
And the chop shop works for an import-export company. So it's a really, really cool way they tell the chain going upwards to the actual
it makes
owners.
sense, you know, like you're laying out, and then by the end of it, you bust the guy that opens that, you know, works for, you know, he owns 10 import-export places, and like you really get that big catch.
Yeah, it's that to me is one of the best and worst aspects because it is so hard to know whether or not you have all of the information you need in front of you to insert them in the correct order on that frame.
Right.
To be able to actually nail the correct victims. And those things go in some really dark places.
Mm-hmm. Some of the child abduction ones are like, this is real bad.
I don't know if you got it, but there was an investigation at a church, and that went about the way you'd expect it to go.
One full-on spotlight?
Yes.
Oh, I don't think I got that one. I got the first church one where the guy busts down the doors with his motorcycle and beats the crap out of a bunch of people and leaves.
Yep, that's another good one.
That was a real good one. Yeah, well, I feel like if there's one thing, I think the day-to-day gameplay of the game is really good, and once you get a good enough squad, or once you get lucky enough to get past that first X percentage of the game, I feel like it was a really great game for me to play like late at night to just kind of chill for a while.
Especially considering the soundtrack.
Yeah, God, the soundtrack is so good. I've picked two great tracks for two great audio clips and two great tracks for the intro and the outro for this.
Is one of them "Shake It Baby"?
No, it's actually the very intro. So it's the very intro for the intro of the show, and then the outro where he gets kicked out of the club and starts counting from 1 to, I think it fades out at 20. Both of those are just gut punches, especially that ending. So let's talk about the ending real quick, because I really don't want to forget about it. Who did you choose? Did you choose the mayor, or did you choose Robespierre?
I chose Chef or Robespierre, whichever way you want to put it.
Yeah, I chose him as well, and I got a really good laugh at the ending we got.
Yep. Enough money to last you the rest of your lifeline?
Mm-hmm. He gives you $1.
Yep.
And he fires you. And during the outro cutscene, you find out you've been kicked out of the club as well.
Yep, so that club that you go to at the start of the game, it's the gentleman's club.
Yeah.
It's exotic dancers, but it's not one of those places where the people are all about the meat market.
Yeah.
It's literally just a bunch of people with respect and dignity sitting around tables.
Yeah, I really like that by the end of that game, and I watched the other ending too if you side with the mayor, and he does the same thing. He leaves you with $1,000 and fires you. I really like that at the end of that game, he is single, alone, drunk in an alley, counting down to 20 so he won't lose his mind.
Mm-hmm.
It is just... And, the part that really got me in the game, story-wise, is I thought his relationship with the woman on the phone was really interesting.
Oh, that was one... As soon as that lady started calling, I was thinking... Forget about the wife. Forget about your wife. Forget about your wife. This is clearly the woman for you,
this
kind of thing.
This lady seems pretty cool, man. And the part that really broke my heart was, for 80% of the game, Boyd is avoiding the answering the question of why not $1 million.
Yep. Why exactly $500,000?
Why $500,000? And when
just for the record, Boston, I have a note here saying, the great reveals the real reason for the $500,000. It's one of the most heartbreaking moments in video games.
So he flashes back to, I think he had beaten the pill addiction at this point, and I think he's sobering up. And he's remembering, and he's talking to his wife, I think, and he's remembering...
Yeah, she calls.
Them moving into their house and him asking her, would you be happy if I was a millionaire? She'd go, you know, I would be happy for the rest of my life, even if you were a half millionaire. I was just like,
ooh,
God, my heart. And he tells her, like, look, I'm clean. I'm sober. I've kicked the pills. I'm doing well at work. Like, I'm getting the $500,000. And her answer is, don't call me again.
Yeah, her answer is also, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember this conversation that you've got ingrained in your head.
That's right. And it's just like that is like he's fighting this downward spiral the entire game, and that just puts two hands on his back and pushes. Like, it's just the whole rest of the game is just he's way more angry, he's threatening at the drop of a hat. Like, I think one of the things that surprised me the most about This Is the Police is how much voice acting and how much of a story there is, because they could have put it at the beginning and the end, an intro and an outro in that cool animated style, and that probably would have been enough because the gameplay is strong. But having all of these story beats and having John St. John put out such an outstanding voice performance that gets so much better the further you are in the game.
Yep.
And having these big story beats and having these really weird mini games whenever he gets knocked out or ODs, like the Dr. Mario mini game that happens at like day 120.
That's after the conversation with his wife, I believe, and he just pulls open it's either the conversation with his wife or the conversation with Lana, I think it is, the other lady who calls.
Yeah. That's the only name I couldn't find out to put on my list, but yeah.
It's after one of those conversations, and he literally just pulls open his drawer and he's like, oh, here's 30 pills, let's just take them all at once.
Yeah, God, this game is really great. And I really liked it at the beginning because it looks cool. I like you being in your office looking on this topographical map of the city, and later when it's Christmas, you can see the Christmas lights outside.
Yes, and the snow, like you can see the snow falling.
And I like that you start out putting records on a record player, then you move to tapes, then you move to CDs. Like I loved the fusion of all that stuff together, but having this game continually kick you in the gut for every story beat, like starting with, I wrote him down, Francis Kendrick, Jack's cop friend. I really like, when you get introduced to him, I really love John St. John's delivery of, like, he meets him in the police cafeteria, which is empty, and he's like, because cops don't hang out with each other anymore. I like that you're seemingly, no matter how you help Kendrick, the mafia is going to catch up to him and chop him into pieces.
Yep.
And I think that's your first inclination in this game, that you don't get to win. Like,
no, you really don't.
You survive.
Barely. And I think it's like a very noir storytelling trope. We saw it, controversially at the end of LA Noire, and I was looking at a bunch of reviews for This Is the Police, and universally, a lot of them were saying, one, the game is a little too long. I can agree with that.
I can agree with that as well.
And two, you don't win. And the game is, you're taking one step forward, two steps back throughout the whole thing. But, as we saw with, the ending of LA Noire, sometimes the good guys don't win.
Yeah. And especially, like, the story they deliver, you should know that by the beginning of Act 2. You should be well aware that you ain't gonna win. Nobody's walking out of this.
When your mother-in-law calls a hit on you, and you get knocked out in the snowdrift, and she goes, "Jack, that totally wasn't me." It's like, lady, come on.
Man, what would you? Why would it be you? Like,
it said head delivery is just so. Yeah, it was 100% you. You sent me to that specific location at that specific time.
Yep.
And it totally wasn't you. I had no idea that was going to happen.
How was that weird? Oh no. Yeah, I so much of that was so good in this game, and I feel like this is a really great first game for a studio, and I think if they had a chance to do the game again, I feel like they probably would have kept a lot of this game intact, but maybe shortened a lot of the stuff. I don't think you need to play... I think by the end of the game, you play 165 days total. Because you lose like a week or two here or there because you're in a coma or you OD'd or stuff like that. But I feel like some of that could have been truncated and focused more on encouraging multiple playthroughs just to see how much you could get different. Or like, I wanted to play through this game again just to see if I could get the perfect run. Mm-hmm. But about 25 days in, it's sort of like, well, I don't really have the time to do another 180 days to see if I can get all the investigations done and keep everyone alive. That's just so much time.
Yeah. A big
Do you even think a perfect run is feasible in that game?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because I think by the end of the game, by the time you get to about day 120, you can spot the fake calls from a mile away.
That was what I was going to say. As soon as you get a little bit in, you become a pro at spotting those false alarms.
Yeah, and it's like you start getting used to sending out a squad of people, and then immediately the mayor's office calls and says, "I need 3 people." So you sort of start learning how to juggle. Okay, I have 3 jobs. One of them's for the Sands. I don't have to do that. One of them's for Atticus Corp. I don't have to do that. Unless I just want a little bit extra cash, or I want somebody to quit because they're going to start their music career. And this one I have to do, it needs 5 people, but I have 8. So I'm going to send 4, because they're not going to go with 3 or less because the dentist is around, and nobody's going to go out by themselves anymore. And then as soon as I send them out, then the mayor wants 3 more people right away, so I'm keeping everybody happy. And it's just, the number of plates you have in the air by about the halfway point is pretty ridiculous. And I think the number of false alarm calls are pretty small, and I think you start seeing them pretty quickly. Like, someone calls and there's a bunch of people in devil masks and capes, running around the fountain at the park. You don't send people there because they're just cosplayers.
Yeah. And there's a whole, there's another one, which is the aliens. It was a bunch of aliens stealing our cows. It wasn't. Yeah. It was a dude with a flashlight and a drone.
Yeah. Yeah, so you get to spot that stuff pretty early on, which is, I think is pretty good because
it saves so many resources being able to do that.
Yeah. Especially because near the end of the game, I talked about this on TVGP proper, that at one point in the game I was pretty strapped for cash, and someone came out and they said, "Hey man, look, I'll give you like $85,000 if you let me steal all your gas, and I'll just replace it with other gas." I was like, okay, what could go wrong?
Oh yeah, I had that option too. I immediately declined it based on what you said.
Yeah, what could go wrong is my cars kept exploding, killing officers in them, like 4 or 5 at a time.
Oh
yeah.
Don't do that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it.
Did you do the dead cops one? The 2 dead cop ones that I got. One for specifically 2 males and a female, and one for specifically male cops.
Oh yeah, I did one of those because I had them on hand, quote unquote.
Yeah. You hadn't done the paperwork for them yet.
Right. And there were a couple. I feel like that's another thing that needed to get boosted a little bit, was your cops that were sitting in the morgue that you hadn't processed the paperwork for yet. I feel like they didn't generate enough money for you to lose that slot.
Yeah. Big. This is going to sound really strange. Really big tip for people who are just starting. Every week you get to send a request to the mayor's office. If you are in good standing with the mayor, you can request like additional officer slot, SWAT upgrade, detective slot, and a salary increase for yourself. You can select more than one.
Shut up.
Dead serious. You can select more than one, because at the end of the game, I was requesting a new cop, a new detective, and a raise. And because I was in really good condition with City Hall, I was getting all 3 every time. I ended this game. Nice. Yep, I ended this game with 15 cops minimum on each roster, and 7 detectives on each roster as well. Because about halfway through, I accidentally hit the Y button a second time, or the A button a second time on that request screen, and it was like red stamp, and I was like, whoa, hold on, what? Man. You can select more than one?
The one thing they don't have a tutorial for could have made so much of the end of that game easier.
Yep.
Man. That's alright. Second playthrough someday. Some rainy day, when I don't have any games to play. In 2053.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I was a little bit disappointed in the dentist stuff. I keep meaning to look up and see if you're supposed to get kicked off the investigation halfway through, or if you can make it all the way. I felt
you can
like
make it all the way.
You can.
I looked.
I felt like I kept making the right choices. Like they would give me the postcard. You know, you'd have like I think it's the first example. You have a postcard and it's a bunch like a painting of angels and heaven and a building, and then you have three pictures of like a dude who's delivering pizza.
Yep.
And which is supposed to tell you you're supposed to go like Holy House Pizza is the place you're going to go to. And I kept getting all of those right, and then halfway through they're like, "Hey, wait a minute, what are you doing?"
Yep. The problem is you have to have a very good relationship with your police force, because it's something I don't know if you noticed, but when you get connected with a Robespierre, at the start of every day, if you hit the X button on the Xbox One,
his little piece of paper.
Yeah. If you have a snitch, it will tell you how good your relationship is with the police force.
Right.
Like, for example, if you refuse to let people have days off, that will go down really quick.
Yes.
And when that starts to go down is when they'll start looking into you closer. So you need to be giving people days off and managing a good relationship with the actual squads you're dealing with, because otherwise they'll tell the mayor that you're hiding evidence, and that's when it gets taken off you.
Yeah, I actually, on my second playthrough, I was a lot better about, you know, like the very first demand from from City Hall is fire all black cops. And my first playthrough, I was like, that's funny. Like, you wanted me to do that. Okay. So in my second playthrough, I did that because I wanted to focus on getting City Hall as happy as possible. Because like you saw in your playthrough, Moon, the riches keep rolling in if you can keep City Hall happy.
Yep.
So of course I fired all the black ops, and about half of them weren't old, so I didn't have a reason to fire them. So internal investigations sort of started checking me out. So I like that by that time I knew, okay, I'm gonna hire a snitch. They're gonna find out who's gonna testify against me, and then I'm gonna use my deputy to pay off those people so that they don't snitch. So then I don't lose slots, I don't lose favoritism with City Hall, and I don't lose any money.
Yep.
And at that time, everything's great. I don't lose 25% of my money, and everybody's happy. I was sort of like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to see how to game this system, sort of playing both sides against the middle.
Yeah. On the playthrough where I made it to 180, I think by the time I hit day 20, I was up at $77,000.
Yeah.
Because I had done everything City Hall wanted. I'd had the cops and everything increased, and then when that lady comes on and is like, "Oh, the Black Hand Triad are the worst thing in this city, and you've got 3 days to shut them down," I shut them down in 3 days exactly.
Wow.
And that got me a boost with City Hall, and it got me the 20K for shutting them down.
Jeez. That's awesome. I every time that would come up, I'd have like 2 pictures on investigating the first person. It's like, well, I'm not gonna be able to make this in 3 days. That's crazy.
Yep, it's literally a case of get as really good detectives as early as you can, and just get them all on it.
Yep.
Both days working on it, and you can get it done in time.
Yeah, because I think one UI thing that needed to be made a little bit clearer was you can put like 15 detectives on one case. And they're just going to investigate the hell out of that thing. Because it took me a couple investigations to figure out, oh, you want to put people from Shift A and people from Shift B, so every day somebody's investigating it. Okay, now I'm going twice as fast. And then I had a case I needed to solve pretty quickly, and I put like 7 people on there, and they're just, you know, one day they came back with like 7 pictures. It's like, oh, okay, now I'm getting it. Cool.
And the best thing about that is because they've all worked on that case. When those cases get solved, every single detective who's worked on it will get a boost, so they will get better, and then you get more frames faster.
Yeah, they get up to like 100 boost.
It's a rolling effect constantly. Like, if you can start well, then you can roll on. And like when I started Act 2, you come to work the first day you come back to work after being put into a coma. Everybody who's working for you is either super exhausted or drunk or just taking it easy. By that time, I had probably about 10 to 13 people on my shifts, and I managed to have enough people to have the 2 stamina bars rather than the 1 or the 0. That I had 7 people who I forced to stay and work, and the other 7 I let go home because they were truly exhausted. And then the next day rolled around, I did the same thing. The third day, everyone was back at full stamina again.
Nice.
So I think it is just about getting a good start and being able to spot those false alarms and not send people there. Because at the beginning, when you've only got 6 police members, 1 false alarm is 2 people wasted.
Or more. I mean, sometimes you can send up to 5 or 6 people, and it's like, no, it's just a bunch of farmers in a field. It's like, oh, well, I just wasted 1 of my SWAT send-outs for the day. Great.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else I liked, didn't like. There's very little about this that I didn't like, other than the stuff we talked about, and the rest of it was just, it clicked with me 100% in a way that very few games do, where you're just like, okay, cool, someone made a game for me. All right.
Yeah.
Great.
I doubted that. Like, I think I started this game a long time ago. I think I might have even talked about it on the podcast, like starting it off and talking about how difficult the beginning was. Once you get a handle on how to play it, it actually becomes... Because I will admit, they don't do a great job in teaching you things. There's some basic tutorials, but not enough, like, warning is given. Like, don't just tell me about 1 false alarm. Point out a second one as well, just so I'm aware.
Like, really, because I didn't get any of it.
Well, I think a lot of the tutorialization they have in the game is fine, but so much of it is just sort of like, you know, open up this case and send some people out. It's like, oh, okay. How many? Like, I feel like there should have been... It's a tough balancing act, because you want people to sort of discover how to play the game by playing the game. You know, some of the experiences you have where it's like, I don't know, man, like, what am I gonna, you know, how am I gonna stop these kids from, vandalizing a mausoleum? And it's like, well, I'm just gonna lock them in there and wait until they give up. And it's like, okay, cool, that worked. But, you know, you want people to figure out that stuff, but you also need to give them enough of a tutorial to get through the beginning part of the game. And I feel like if the game was shorter, you know, you could almost treat it like a roguelike. You could say, all right, I'm 1 out of 5 runs are going to make it. The other 4 out of 5 are just going to biff really early. And that's okay, because a run doesn't take too long. But because a quote-unquote run of this game takes so long, you get in the same situation that Knobs got into, which is like, well, I can't afford to spend more time on this game because the time investment is so great.
Well, I mean, you're talking. I mean, it was between 5 to 6 hours at different sittings, and I'm like, and then just to get punched in the face.
Yeah,
like I kept getting like flicked in the nose. I'm like, I want to have fun. I don't want to.
Well, it's like after 20 hours and 4 failed runs, it's sort of like, well, I don't think I'm going to make it. You know, like either this game has it out for me, or there's something that they haven't communicated to me, but it's not going to happen. So
I think I caught the short end. I think I kind of caught the short end on a few of the dice rolls on the hiring ass side too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, any closing bits of feedback we have here for This Is the Police?
No, I think we've pretty much said all I can say, at least. I absolutely adore this game. The first time I played it, I thought it was good, not great, but the second you get further into it, and it becomes more about the story than the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
Which the day-to-day stuff is still fun. It's still interesting to read all of those cases and some of the ridiculousness that they actually put into those, like the police calls.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of FTL.
Yes.
You know, you come up to something and you have 3 or 4 options. It's like, I don't know, man. I'm gonna try stuff that sounds right, and then it just turns out number 1 crazy, but number 2 in your favor. It's like, huh, all right, that was great.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I loved the game. Like, genuinely loved it. There's a reason why I specifically said, hold on, is that the 2017 release date I hear there?
Right. 2017 top 10 candidate. This is the police.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's talk about our next game. Thankfully, thanks to
please be a shooter. Please be a shooter. Please be a shooter.
They can't all be shooters now. The community chosen game, patreon.com/E1M1, they have chosen Inside. Made from the makers of Limbo. One of my top games of last year came out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Yep.
There's for anyone that wants to play this, I'm gonna recommend here's the playthrough. Play it through normally once, just get to the ending, and then go look up. It unlocks chapter select after that point. Go look up how to get the secret ending, and then go do that. Only takes like 30 to 60 more minutes. But we're going to be talking about it on the recap show, so everybody should go do that, because it's a thing. So Inside, if you haven't played Inside or Limbo, there's a double pack now that where you get both games for, I think, PS4 and Xbox One. So go pick that up. Thank you again for our patrons for voting for that this month. And we'll probably do that every other month. We'll have patrons vote, so if you're not a patron, patreon.com/E1M1. Thank you for supporting the show. And
you're welcome.
Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And we'll see you all next month.
Later.
See you soon.
Alright, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We made it.
Eventually.
Son of... Alright, we'll see everyone tomorrow for TVGP. Bye.
Yep.